Updated March 22, 2019, 11 hours 6 minutes and 20 seconds. In its own way, this Friday will be just as extraordinary as last Friday in New Zealand. Key points. New Zealand will today mark 1 week since the mosque shooting attacks. Thousands of people are expected at the Noor Mosque for Friday prayers. Some New Zealanders will wear headscarves in a show of solidarity with Muslim women a week after a lone terrorist murdered 50 Muslims of all ages and walks of life. Simply because of their faith, the community's sacred rituals will be front and center. A day of mourning and reflection will see human chains formed around worshippers and non-Muslim women donning headscarves in a sign of solidarity. Friday prayers will be held in the park across from the Noor Mosque, where 42 people were killed. Police had hoped to hand the Noor and Linwood mosques back to the community by today, but have now said the handover will take place tomorrow. The call to prayer will be broadcast live on national television and radio and will be followed by 2 minutes of silence at 1:32 p.m. local time, 11:32 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern will make her third visit in a week to the city to attend. It's going to be a very emotional day. Christchurch Mayor Leanne Dalziel said daily life would be put on hold. I know people will come to a standstill. I know they will reflect on what's happened here and they will reach out to each other, she said. Thousands of worshippers are expected to descend on Hagley Park, which borders the hospital, where close to 30 people injured in the attack are still being treated. Among the crowd will be Gould Meyer, a 28-year-old community advocate wrestling with how to feel about the day. There will be some great things happening, and I think those are all beautiful gestures, he said. To be honest, a part of me thinks all these vigils and all these flowers and all these hijab-wearing things really just mean nothing without actions. That's a sentiment calmly but firmly being echoed these days by those Muslims who feel that their fears and concerns of racism and Islamophobia have for too long fallen on deaf ears. We've been living in complete denial about these issues that exist in this country, Mr. Meyer said. It's almost as though we consider New Zealand to be this utopia, because we constantly compare ourselves to the likes of Australia. For me, my question is, why do we have to set the bar so low? Mr. Meyer is hopeful that things will change for New Zealand's Muslim community. This happened in the first place because law enforcement authorities and intelligence agencies have failed us in terms of our safety risks, and things we've been talking about for a very long time, he said. Australian Muslims show their support. Muslims from across New Zealand and Australia have come to Christchurch this week. They didn't need to be asked. Many have begged for time off work to do what they see as their duty for their fellow Muslims, supporting those who've lost loved ones, practically and emotionally, around the clock if that's what it takes. At the Central Memorial site on the edge of the Botanic Gardens, Samir Dandan, president of the Lebanese Muslim Association in Lakemba, Western Sydney, stopped to take in the mountain of cards and flowers left there over the past week. He too wants more than words and gestures. This is where people of sound mind need to rise up, he said. We've always heard calls for the Muslim leaders to do more, to stamp out what they kept describing as a fundamental extremist ideology within the Muslim community. But today, who do we look at? This is a catalyst of what we hope is a positive change, that the blood of those innocent people, those martyrs in our book, should not go to waste, he said. The crowd seemed to grow by the day at the memorial site. School children, tradies, business people, joggers. They all stopped for a while. I didn't have a lot of feeling about the whole thing until I came here, said one elderly man. He choked up suddenly, his tears seeming to take him by surprise. Just pulls the guts out of you, he said, shaking his head, before moving on. Christchurch tries to find a way forward just across from the wall, the reconstruction of the Heritage Arts Centre. building, the former University of Canterbury, is nearing completion after the devastating earthquake 8 years ago. In his cherry-picker, stonemason Darren Harris put the finishing touches on a wall near a grassed quadrangle. Mr. Harris didn't know anyone directly affected by last week's attacks, but it was an anxious time that afternoon. Separated from his wife and daughter in another part of town, with his daughter's school in lockdown, he and the other workmen have made a habit of going over to the memorial wall in their lunch breaks, and he'll return today. We'll pause to reflect. I think we're all going to go there across the road to put some flowers down, he said. Between heartbreak and soul-searching, New Zealanders must find a way forward. Life has changed forever, but progress is not guaranteed. It's a window of opportunity right now, Gouladmeyer said. It's quite sad to think it's taken the deaths of 50 people to get where we are today, but I pray and I hope that we can begin to have those really difficult conversations and discussions. Topics: terrorism, religion and beliefs, community organizations, meditation and prayer. New Zealand first posted March 22, 2019, 1 hour 1 minute and 37 seconds.